非常完整。哎呀，都有同系，这个文物啊非常的精美啊，非常完整。
这谁开的第一？
哎呀，很兴奋啊，很兴奋。这个非常好，非常好啊。大家把这个管子，把这个管子不好，大一点的人有。
很完整，很完整。这门这就是表示墙，
有两道门，两个一个窗。
对，门子。头，铜的。起，
拉我。同谋。
轻点，不要着火了。
哎呀，这后卫非常完整。哎呀，都有同系，这个文物啊非常的精美啊，非常完整。
这谁开的第一？
哎呀，很兴奋啊，很兴奋。这个非常好，非常好啊。大家把这个管子，不好，大一点的人有。
很完整，很完整。这门这就是表示墙，
有两道门，两个一个窗。
对，门子。头，铜的。起，
拉我。
同谋。轻点，不要着火了。
In recent years, an archaeological excavation in Yunmen County, Hubei Province has attracted widespread attention in the archaeological community. Hundreds of tombs have been uncovered, yielding abundant bronze, jade, and pottery artifacts, along with rare painted wooden door panels, Qin-era documents, and hundreds of lacquered wooden relics. These discoveries reveal not only the artistic flair of the Chu people, but also the martial spirit of the Qin. They stand as vivid evidence of the complex interactions between the Qin and Chu states more than 2,000 years ago. In late November 2023, to support the construction of a new highway in Yunmen County, the Hubei Provincial Institute of Cultural Relics and Archaeology, together with the Yunmen County Museum, resumed excavation work at the Zhangjiahu Cemetery. Since May 2020, more than 300 tombs have been excavated there, containing burials of Chu and Qin individuals dating from the late Warring States period to the early Han Dynasty. The current excavation area lies on the southern side of Area C, where archaeologists have explored 15 tombs. Although these tombs are small to medium in scale, the archaeological team is highly enthusiastic, believing that bamboo slips, wooden tablets, and other important artifacts may once again be discovered. Since the 1970s, Yunmen County has yielded numerous Qin and Han-era bamboo slips thanks in large part to the region's unique water-retaining tomb structures. Because Yunmen has an extensive water system, rivers and lakes scattered throughout the region, and a naturally high groundwater level, some deeply buried tombs remain submerged year-round, forming water-retaining tombs. These water-retaining tombs are sealed off from the air and maintain stable humidity, conditions that are ideal for preserving organic materials. As a result, whenever bamboo slips or wooden tablets were buried with the deceased, they were almost always preserved intact to the present day. The discovery of so many water-retaining tombs at the Zhangjiahu Cemetery greatly excited the archaeological team. 15 tombs were excavated smaller in scale than those uncovered at Zhangjiahu in 2021, but in noticeably better overall condition. Of the 15 tombs excavated this time, 11 were water-retaining tombs. By comparison, only 14 out of more than 160 tombs excavated in 2021 were water-retaining, making this year's ratio remarkably high. This raised the question, would the team once again uncover bamboo slips or wooden tablets, as they hoped? At the site, as the rhythmic sound of hose cut through the soil, several tombs gradually emerged designated M351, M354, and M360, all of them rectangular vertical shaft tombs. This was the most common tomb type in ancient times, yet even within the same burial style, careful observation reveals differences in the wealth, identity, and social status of the 3 tomb owners. The tombs vary in size: large, medium, and small, and the deeper the excavation went, the more pronounced these differences became. Here's a layer, do you see it? One archaeologist pointed out, indicating the boundary between the mottled soil and the green burial paste. The green burial paste in this tomb was still quite thick, at least 1 meter deep. Among the 3 tombs, M354 had the thickest layer of green paste at 1.4 meters, M360 had about 1 meter, while M351 had only a thin layer, so little that it did not fully cover the coffin. In ancient times, people viewed death as an extension of life and placed great importance on burial rituals. A difference of 1 meter in burial paste reflects a significant gap in the tomb owners' wealth and social standing. So what social identities did these individuals hold?
一个柱子的这个门板有多长？然后这个门板到这第一个126。126，第二口有多长？122。122，第3块。193。192。又是194，又是195。
Interestingly, the thinner the burial fill, the faster the excavation progresses. Within just 1 day, the excavation of tomb M351 had already reached the stage of opening the coffin. Although M351 contained very little green paste, the tomb happened to be in an excellent water-retaining environment, and the entire wooden coffin was fully submerged, an ideal condition for preservation. When the coffin lid was lifted, the chamber beneath revealed a pool of clear water, an exciting sight for team leader Zhao Jun. Infrared cameras play a crucial role in archaeology because they can detect ink inscriptions invisible to the naked eye. Although the tomb appeared modest, Zhao Jun believed, based on past excavations, that bamboo slips might still lie preserved beneath the water, so preparations had to be made in advance.
这车人可以车吧？这可以车，平地100多的泥巴，纯泥巴。这棺盖板这么大，棺这么小。
The team soon discovered that this part of the tomb had been disturbed by modern human activity and had not always remained in a stable water-retaining state. The funerary head box on the south side of the chamber had completely decayed and mixed with the silt, suggesting that the coffin's preservation might not be ideal. The archaeologists immediately began pumping out excess water to prepare for cleaning.
拿个竹签吧，竹签探硬度，还有70、80公分。
At the same time, they started retrieving artifacts from the head box area, probing carefully through the thick silt with bamboo sticks. The objects beneath felt solid and well preserved. Gently, they began peeling away the soil by hand. The outline of ancient pottery gradually emerged, including pottery jars and pots, everyday items commonly used during the tomb owner's era. By now, most of the water had been drained from the coffin, and the team slowly removed the accumulated silt. But when they reached the bottom, they found neither bamboo slips nor wooden tablets, and even the tomb owner's bones had completely decayed into the soil. However, on one side of the coffin, they spotted a circular object with faint traces of vermilion paint beneath the mud.
哎呀，个薄皮看的是那好，
叶来是
哦，薄皮好，这个完整的漆木器，
那是个么玩意儿嘞？
漆木器。
It was a lacquered box, intact and tightly sealed. Such boxes typically contain food offerings or the personal belongings of the deceased. In fact, the identity of Lady Dinjui of Mawang Wei was confirmed thanks to a seal reading Din Chai found inside a similar lacquer box. So what might this lacquer box contain? The box was immediately sent to the Zhangjiahu Lacquered Wood Restoration Center, where its secrets would soon be uncovered.
这个36以前36也出过这么大的，上一个我们还给他开刀了，给他做手术的，也有点变质，有点破。
The restoration work was led by Li Lan, a veteran cultural relics conservator. She has restored more than a dozen lacquer boxes unearthed from Zhangjiahu alone. To Li Lan, each lacquer box is like a historical mystery box. You never know what surprise the next one will reveal. As the surrounding soil was carefully removed, the lacquer box gradually revealed its former brilliance.
就是在这个手上的感觉，这两个手在这个地方，就是要轻轻的在水里面借助它的浮力往上波动，看到吗？这已经出来了啊。拿一个装满水的盒子，哇，有东西。
When the lid was opened, the first object to appear was a round, tube-shaped item. Li Lan had never seen such an object before and could not immediately determine its purpose.
还有一个梳子，还有一个柄，保持梳妆盒。
As she continued examining the box, she soon discovered a second bamboo tube inside. She speculated that the two tubes were originally a matching set, likely used to hold certain items. But what might people in ancient times have stored in such small bamboo tubes?
流进去的。
After meticulous cleaning, one tube showed signs of grinding and shaping on one end, while the bottom of the other had decayed, leaving no contents inside.
应该是可以这样放进去的。对，应该这是一件。
Once cleaned, the two bamboo tubes fit together perfectly.
对呀，这个像口红，最早的口红。哎，这个很有意思，这肯定是跟梳妆有关系的，应该是一个容器。
With a gentle sweep of the restoration brush, the wooden comb teeth hidden beneath layers of silt emerged clearly, remarkably well preserved. It was easy to imagine a warm scene from more than 2,000 years ago when people enjoyed the spring sun, hosted banquets, and let the sunlight warm their hair. After several days of excavation, the largest of the three tombs M354 was finally cleared down to the coffin layer. But the next stage proved challenging. The bottom of the coffin was covered by a thick layer of large logs. These logs were massive, water-soaked, and extremely heavy. Fortunately, the archaeological team had extensive experience handling such situations. With coordinated effort and shouted commands, the logs were safely removed. What lay beneath thrilled team leader Zhao Jun clear traces of a bamboo mat were visible. The deeper they explored, the stronger their sense of anticipation grew. Beneath the bamboo mat, the coffin lid still retained the wood's original yellow hue, and the head box was packed tightly with layers of funerary items. The team then began extracting the artifacts from the head box. Because the box was densely filled and the space too tight for anyone to enter, archaeologists had to lie beside the coffin chamber and reach in with their upper bodies to retrieve the items. The objects were tightly packed, so each piece had to be removed slowly, with careful attention to angle and pressure. This method had been used to extract artifacts from hundreds of Zhangjiahu tombs, so the team was well practiced. Flat pots, air cups, round boxes. Pottery well-preserved items emerged one after another, and the head box gradually emptied. Yet the long, slender object everyone hoped to find was still missing. Then, while clearing the bottom layer, a team member suddenly felt a wooden strip buried in the soil. After spotting the wood fragments, Zhao Jun immediately emptied out all the surrounding soil and carefully searched through the silt by hand.
用点水，喷点水，看看有没有水。找到了。啊，这个是。
But after a quick cleaning, no traces of the expected black ink writing appeared on the wood. The fragments did not resemble bamboo slips or wooden tablets. They were likely pieces that had broken off from bamboo utensils. While work continued on tomb M354, the adjacent tomb M360 had also reached the crucial stage of artifact retrieval. Tomb M360 was in only average condition. Its coffin lid had decayed into pieces and collapsed into the coffin chamber. The head box had also been severely deformed by soil pressure, leaving the artifacts inside in poor condition. To prevent further damage caused by rapid changes in moisture after opening the tomb, the team decided to extract the artifacts as quickly as possible.
3号是吧？3号标签了的。
哇，变形是这样子了。
二位着，你看这是菜的，看里面还有片子有，然后把水棒拿过来，把水抽了。
As expected, almost none of the items recovered from the head box of tomb M360 were intact. Among them were pieces of valuable painted lacquerware.
这不会是19分钟吧
2个吗？这是1正1反吧？
这是一个。
这是1个吧？
The most regrettable find was a lacquered flat pot, broken into several fragments, though its painted patterns were still visible. This type of vessel was used in ancient times to hold wine, and even in its damaged state, its craftsmanship remains evident.
撕一点点，把那个木屑把它扫下去，把木屑扫下去。你看那个牙是那个位置慢一点，慢一点把那牙刨出来，我照相能看得清楚。
To the untrained eye, bones may seem to lack the clear information that artifacts provide, such as texture, shape, or inscriptions, but with modern scientific methods, archaeologists can extract remarkably detailed insights from them, even reconstructing aspects of a person's life. The more complete the skeleton, the more information experts can decode. Compared with the damaged burial goods, the remains of the tomb M360 occupant were exceptionally well preserved, from major bones to small ones, even the teeth, something rarely seen in previous excavations. After careful cleaning, the bones were prepared for analysis at various specialized facilities. Their first stop was the Zhangjiahu Archaeological Base. There, the team invited physical anthropology experts to conduct on-site identification of all the unearthed remains. Through visual examination alone, they could determine key information such as sex, physical traits, approximate age at death, and whether the individual had suffered injuries during life.
髋骨呗，拿个髋骨呗。 所以就是那个骨盆那儿的，就不拿长骨了，拿髋骨吧。髋骨也是判断性别的一个重要的部分。
Based on their observations, experts concluded that the tomb M360 occupant died at around 45 years old. Meanwhile, the head box of tomb M354 had been fully cleared, yielding 15 pieces of pottery and lacquerware. Because the coffin lid was a single massive plank, wedged tightly inside the coffin, archaeologists decided to dismantle part of the coffin structure to proceed. When the two coffin lids were finally lifted, the scene inside made the team leader's heart sink. Only a thin layer of sediment covered the coffin floor, no grave goods at all, and the tomb owner's remains were severely decomposed. This raised the question, could any bamboo slips or wooden tablets still be hidden inside? Near the coffin wall, a long wooden fragment caught Zhao Chun's attention.
第三类人是养生直肢的，这是棺上面掉的木屑，棺上掉的，哎，棺上掉的，棺是那个位置，这会掉下去的，棺内壳那个位置掉下去的。
But after a quick inspection, he realized it was yet another false alarm.
竹简有没有？啥也没有。竹简没有，一边应该有。一边管10万东西。
真麻，可能下面是人骨。
Although no writing appeared, the team did find rice, hemp, and other crops placed on the body, likely offerings from the tomb owner's family, wishing the deceased a worry-free afterlife and hoping to bless future generations with good harvests. Just as the archaeologists were carefully collecting these crops, exciting news arrived from another excavation site.
对，拿个小的窄的吧，窄的。
It came from tomb M362, which had remained water-retained at the time of excavation. The tomb itself was modest, with few grave goods, but while clearing sediment from the bottom of the coffin, the team uncovered a wooden strip about 20 centimeters long. Despite being submerged in muddy water for millennia, the ink on its surface remained astonishingly clear. Lined across it were the characters everyone had been hoping for. What exactly was written on this wooden tablet? Onlookers were eager to know and carefully passed it to experts for cleaning and deciphering. Early the next morning, news of the discovery drew many archaeologists to the Yunmeng Zhangjiahu archaeological base. Among them was Fan Gudong, a specialist with a doctorate in historical philology from Wuhan University and extensive experience reading ancient bamboo slips. Wooden tablets are extremely prone to oxidation and deformation once removed from their stable burial environment. To protect the artifact and decipher it as quickly as possible, Fan Gudong chose to clean the tablet himself while reading the text simultaneously. The ink, he noted, could easily rise to the surface of the wood over time. A single careless stroke could cause the writing to disappear. After thousands of delicate brush taps, the full inscription finally emerged. The wooden strip measured 24.3 centimeters long, less than 1 centimeter thick, and 3.4 centimeters wide, with 5 columns of text written in a script transitional between Qin clerical and early Han clerical styles. Fan Gudong immediately transcribed the entire inscription onto paper for further study. After verification through infrared photography and comparison, the inscription was confirmed to contain 177 characters, forming the tomb owner's yishu, or inventory of belongings, known as a clothing register. Ancient people believed that the deceased would continue life in another world, so families often prepared abundant burial goods for them. But fearing these items might be stolen in the unseen world, they created clothing registers documents that served as certificates to assert the tomb owner's ownership of these goods. As a result, such registers typically recorded the basic identity of the deceased. The register unearthed from tomb M360 begins with the line, Anlu refers to Anlu County of that era. Zhongli corresponds to what we would now call a neighborhood, and Z is the name of the tomb owner. In other words, the document identifies the deceased as a person named Z who lived in the central district of Anlu County. The rest of the text lists Z's burial goods in detail, including the color, material, and condition of each garment. Meanwhile, during the excavation of tomb M359, the team encountered a puzzling discovery. When they reached the coffin level, they found a massive cylindrical log placed diagonally across the tomb. Although logs were sometimes used as coffin covers in other tombs, they were always arranged neatly in rows, never in this unusual diagonal fashion. Beneath the slanted log lay another full layer of logs. The archaeologists wondered why tomb M359 had an extra log. Was it part of a special ritual? Soon, clues emerged on the tomb's southern side, where the team cleaned away more green burial paste along the wall. The paste formed a semicircular pattern, and screening confirmed it had been placed there intentionally during the original burial. With all the clues now aligning, team leader Zhao Jun was able to form a clear and accurate conclusion. The tomb had likely collapsed during the burial process, perhaps suddenly. To stabilize it, the ancient builders placed the thickest log diagonally across the first layer of coffin-covering wood. This may have been done to prevent further collapse. Even in the face of structural failure, the ancients still hoped to restore order and completeness to the tomb. This accidental collapse, occurring more than 2,000 years ago, not only added mystery to the excavation, but also created a moment of silent dialogue between archaeologists and the people of the past. Seeing the care the ancients took to ensure their loved ones could rest peacefully, one cannot help but wonder, how well has the tomb they worked so hard to build survived through the ages? It appeared that the ancestors' efforts had not been in vain. The entire coffin was remarkably well preserved. A fully intact bamboo basket found in the head box astonished onlookers and heightened curiosity about what might lie inside the coffin. But when the coffin lid was opened, the scene inside proved disappointing. The tomb owner's bones had completely decomposed, and no grave goods were found. Even stranger, the silt and sediment inside the tomb were bright red. Was it caused by rust, cinnabar, or some other ancient preservative? Without testing equipment on site, the team could not determine the cause. The archaeologists then carefully removed the bamboo basket from the head box, along with pottery, lacquerware, and other funerary items. These were typical burial objects found throughout the Zhangjiahu cemetery. As the artifacts were packed and transported back to the archaeological base, the fieldwork at Zhangjiahu drew to a close. But the archaeological research on the cemetery was far from finished. In the bioarchaeology laboratory at the University of Science and Technology of China, researchers were preparing a new set of microscopic samples. These samples came from human bones excavated at Zhangjiahu. Within each tiny glass slide lay an entire microscopic world holding clues to the ancient inhabitants' diets. This was the second time Yang Yuzhang had led a bioarchaeology team at the Zhangjiahu site. In their earlier work in 2021, They discovered parasite eggs more than 2,000 years old on human bones representing several different species. There are 8 tombs, one researcher explained. This one is particularly clear, so let's start with tapeworms. The least common parasite was the liver fluke, found in 4 tombs. It also appeared in the smallest quantities. Out of more than 270 eggs extracted, about 40 belonged to liver flukes, while the other 2 parasite types each accounted for more than 100 eggs. Scientific research shows that tapeworms are mainly contracted from eating beef or mutton, whipworms from contaminated fruits and vegetables, and liver flukes from freshwater organisms. Based on this, archaeologists inferred that differences in parasite types among the Zhangjiahu ancestors likely reflected differences in their diets. The tombs at Zhangjiahu date primarily from the late Warring States period to the early Western Han Dynasty. During this era, the Yunmeng region underwent a major historical shift. Into 78 BC, the Qin army marched south and captured Ying, the capital of the Chu state. Afterward, Anlu became a county under Qin administration. More than 2,000 years later, the Zhangjiahu tombs were uncovered, over 300 in total, some belonging to Qin people, some to Chu, and many showing a blend of Qin and Chu cultural elements. Archaeologists believe that after the war, Qin and Chu populations began living together in the Yunmeng region. The Qin and Chu peoples had notably different dietary habits. For example, Yunmeng has always been rich in freshwater resources, and the Chu people who lived there for generations ate large amounts of freshwater fish, making them more susceptible to liver fluke infections. In the newly excavated 2023 tombs, Yang Yuzhang's team extracted sediment samples from 6 well-preserved skeletons and found more than 200 parasite eggs, mostly liver flukes, along with tapeworm and whipworm eggs. These ancient parasite eggs, preserved for over 2 millennia, vividly reflect the daily lives and diets of the Zhangjiahu ancestors. Meanwhile, in a modest workshop behind the Yunmeng County Museum, Li Lan, a cultural relics conservation expert, and her team continued their meticulous work. On the table lay a sword case that had undergone a year of dehydration, drying, and reshaping, but still required repair and repainting. Pay attention to the ash in this gap, Li Lan instructed. It needs to be adjusted so it can fill the seam smoothly. Every step of the restoration process, skilled techniques, specialized tools, and carefully chosen materials reflects Li Lan's years of accumulated experience. She can describe each of these methods in precise detail.
声音过来吧。
因为它这个漆很薄了，做的时候擦的时候薄薄的擦一层，这边上，哎，不是整体，局部在这种露出来胎的地方，轻轻的擦一擦。
Adhesives made from fish bladder, sawdust and lime filler, lacquer mixtures, and material ratios adjusted for seasonal humidity. These are the ideal restoration formulas she and her team developed after hundreds of experiments. These techniques are Li Lan's pride and a blessing for countless lacquered wood artifacts unearthed from the site. Today, many of the lacquered pieces restored by her team are displayed in the Yunmeng County Museum for visitors to admire. Under the lights, they appear just as they did more than 2,000 years ago, simple yet magnificent, radiating a distinctly Eastern elegance. What most people don't realize is that many more artifacts still lie buried in the silt beneath the nearby layers of earth, quietly waiting for their moment to re-emerge.
而人们不知道的是，在博物馆不远处的地层下，仍有许多掩埋于淤泥中的器物，等待重见天日。